This is how I turned my basement side hustle into a multi-million-dollar enterprise. This all started back in 2018 when I was in college, balancing schoolwork and a bunch of jobs. I would have family friends all the time coming to me like, hey Anthony, we know you know about computers, can you give us a hand? And it kind of started small with me just helping out a few people fix a screen or reinstall an operating system. And then my friend at the time was like, hey, why don't we try to take this to the next level? Why don't we advertise? And and we did that. And we kind of, at the time, using my Gram's basement, we were doing repairs on the weekends, doing school during the week, and it was slowly growing. And I finally got a question from a customer that at the time, to me, just seemed like a regular question, but now I could see kind of set the course for everything. And the customer asked, like, hey, do you guys have any computers for sale? And at the time, we were really only doing repairs. So, my first thought was like, oh, like anybody else, I'll just point them to a computer that I would buy on Best Buy. And then, I started thinking about it more, and I had another customer ask the same thing. And this time they had said, hey, do you have any used computers for sale? And I'm like, used computers? Like, we fix computers, but like what? No, I don't. I have some parts computers, but again, I got to thinking about it, and I started looking, and I had stumbled across some government surplus auctions. So I was like, hey, why not? I know I could fix computers, so I bought a bunch of computers and fixed them up and refurbished them and sold them all right away. And I was like, oh, okay, I might be onto something here. And like I said, it kept going, and soon enough, we weren't doing repairs. We were, kind of acquiring and buying computers, whether it be government surplus, or we started actually buying directly with recyclers. And we went from selling individual units to people to tens or hundreds of units at a time. And once again, this was all going on for my last 2 years of college. And again, we just kept going, and then I started to think, well, I'm paying government surplus to buy this stuff secondhand, or I'm paying the recycler. And in my mind, I was like, why don't we become the recycler? The other thing is, I was going to college at Penn State for cybersecurity at the time. And I started getting computers from, that we bought directly from the government. We bought directly in auction. We bought directly from recyclers. And I would open them up, and there'd be a hard drive in them. Or I'd turn them right on, and they'd boot right up, to the previous user. And I was like, well, this isn't right. So a combination of thinking, well, I'm already paying for these computers, but if I became the recycler, I know, I could get them for less. And paired with the fact that there was a cybersecurity issue, I saw an opportunity to jump into what I now know is actually an industry that's already existed. But at the time, I had no idea that like IT asset disposition, was kind of there. So fast forward, again, did that through college, kind of, mostly just buying and selling computers. Graduated college, and again, as most people do, they would look for a job. And I looked for a job for maybe about 2 weeks, and I did one interview, and I was like, this sucks. I was like, I know I can do something interesting. So anyways, it was COVID year. I graduated in May of 2020, and I was like, okay, so I really ramped it up with what I was buying from another recycler. And I really I started buying way more. I had all the time, and at the time I was living with my now wife's her parents, and all I had was about a 200 square foot garage and 2 storage units about 10 minutes away. And for those 6 months from basically June till the end of 2020, I would drive, to different recyclers, buy and load up my van, bring it all back, refurbish what I could, part out what I could, sell everything. And I did that for about 6 months, and I was able to save up, some money. And then again, I knew during that entire period that the recycling side, the IT asset disposition side was what mattered, like what I wanted to, really focus on. So, I October of 2020, I started conversations with a family friend about buying a building back near where I grew up. And I was able to string together some money that I had saved to buy the building, which had, about 3,000 square feet usable space for the business to grow. And then, I lined up our first employee, and in 2021, Mammoth officially opened. And that year, it was very interesting. It was just myself and one other person. We were really starting from nothing. So we had to learn sales, we had to learn marketing, we had to learn operations, finance, all these things. And we also started the business, and up until this point, we had never done a recycling pickup or worked directly. We've always bought secondhand, so we now had to convince companies to work with us. And fortunately, it went better than we probably would have thought, because once again, we approached it from a cybersecurity perspective from day one. Even when we knew nothing, we knew the importance of dealing with the data and customer service and so on and so forth. And we really hit the ground running. We were able to convince some pretty decent sized customers to work with us in that first year. And again, things slowly but surely grew. And we hired our next person and our next person. And fast forward now, we're coming up on our 5th year. Mammoth, I can't even have imagined where we are now. We have over 25 employees. We just purchased our first a new building for ourselves, a 52,000 square foot warehouse. We acquired a company at the beginning of the year, a competitor in Ohio. We have 10,000 square feet there. It's truly amazing, what we've been able to do in these last 5 years. And like I said, I've learned everything from sales, marketing, finance, things that you don't really learn in college. But it all goes back to me and my van. Like, this would have never came about. Like, I didn't have money. I wasn't awarded this position. I fought and I fought and fought, and to get to this point. And we continue to fight every day. But again, it's no matter what your business is, your niche you think it may be, like, there is opportunity if you're willing to put in the work.